Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer. I am Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, and I have with me Stephen and Theresa of Whale Sacs. Now, if you are a listener of mine, if you've been listening for quite a few years, when you say, or you think of Whale Sacs, you probably think of Tina Oakley, who is the founder and the creator of Whale Sacs. And I actually, for a while, did and helped social media Whale Sacs for a little bit when I stepped away from Dynamic Discs. But there's been some changes that's happened in the background, and that's what we're here to talk about today with Stephen and Theresa. First of all, how are you guys doing today?
Absolutely fantastic. It's been a great day today. The weather has finally started to warm back up in Orlando, and it's a great day.
Nice.
We probably rude of us to complain about cold weather in Orlando, but we are here for the heat. So no, we are doing great. We are very happy to be here.
Awesome. Now, before we started recording, you had mentioned something about being in an RV. Is that are you using it to travel around, or do you live in an RV?
I wish we were using it to travel. We are living full time in our RV right now. It's been going on 5 years, and it's honestly just a little too big for traveling. It's just too slow and clunky, and getting it in and out of places takes a lot of effort. But we honestly weren't sure where we wanted to buy a house at. We said we don't want to settle where we were at in the Pacific Northwest. So the most logical thing for us to do was to downsize to an RV and let it take us where it's going to take us. And we're loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. What size and what class?
It is a 36.5-foot Class A.
That is a pretty big RV. I know these things because way back in the day, before I went full time with Dynamic Discs, me and my wife actually downsized ourselves, and we were going to live full time in an RV. And we started a podcast called Living the RV Life. And we did about 8 or 9 episodes, and it was basically our journey of getting into an RV. We actually never ended up buying the RV. We ended up buying a house when I got the job in Emporia, Kansas. But yeah, what was how did you downsize? Was it just like you just got rid of everything, or what was kind of your process for downsizing?
That was probably one of the most freeing things that have ever happened in our lives. Like, we were living in an apartment, and it was a big apartment, 2 big size bedrooms, and it was filled. Not like filled to the brim that you see in some places, but
we had stuff.
We had a lot of stuff. So we decided, though, that in order for us to properly do it, we didn't want to get a storage unit. So we sold everything. We went on to, I think Theresa worked really hard on Facebook Marketplace, posting, selling as much as we could. We donated so much stuff. But it just felt so good to we would go through these boxes, and we would see stuff that I haven't seen in 3 to 4 years. And I was like, why am I packing around boxes of stuff that I'm not using, So we kept some photo albums that I left at my brother's house. It's in his garage, some safekeepings. But other than that, it felt good. We got rid of everything. When we originally moved to Florida, we got rid of all of our cold weather gear. And then after we got here and experienced one of the winters, we were like, we probably could have kept a couple more items. Not that it gets freezing cold, but we've acclimated quite a lot to the heat here. That's for sure.
Also,
Yeah, it was full send. We were like, we don't need pants.
I remember when we downsized, how we did it was we read it in a book or something, but we measured out based on the size of RV we wanted, we measured out a space in the living room. And we said it has to fit in that space or we're getting rid of it. And that really helped. So, but yeah, it made us get rid of a lot of stuff. And you're right. It was kind of that minimalist thinking. And it was, even though we didn't move, we ended up moving into a house. It was very freeing to get rid of a lot of that stuff. It was interesting. So let's dive into your disc golf story, though. What is your disc golf journey? How did you guys get into disc golf?
Yeah, so I'll start that one because that one goes back a long time ago for me. I think it was like the year 2000. My dad had taken a trip to go visit some friends down in Redding, California. I grew up in Southern Oregon. And so he went down there, visited a friend, and he took him disc golfing. And he was instantly hooked. He went to the local sporting goods store. They had a small setup of Innova plastic. So he picked up like 3 or 4 discs, brought them home. We did not have a course in my hometown of Klamath Falls. So we would just go down to our local park that was really close by, and we would play, I think some people call it like safari jungle golf. You would pick a tree and you would say, all right, the tree with the crazy fork at the top, we're going to shoot at that one. It's a par 3. And that's how my love disc golf became a thing. And then a lot of the times, like on the weekends, we would travel to other cities that actually had disc golf courses. So my entire like childhood growing up, there was no competitive aspect to it other than just like me and my brother and my dad being super competitive with everything we do. But we would get all these amazing road trips just all over Oregon and California, playing disc golf and getting to enjoy that. And then we'd bring friends with us. And then as I got older, there was probably a few years that went by where I didn't play. But then I was living in Seattle, Washington, working at an Apple store, and met Theresa. And after we got together, I told her about disc golf. She loved nature, so we went out and tried it. And she always likes to joke around like, "Oh, he's so patient," because it would take me 3 or 4 shots to get up to his first shot those first times playing. Which, I mean, that's probably an over exaggeration, maybe not extreme, but
Not at all. Not at all an exaggeration.
But now there's times where she outdrives me. She's crushing these days. So yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, now we really use it as a tool to travel as much as possible. Like when we were still living in Oregon, we would love taking day trips up to Portland to go hit up like Pier Park, any of the courses up there that are amazing. And so we like to take like little disc golf road trips where we get to eat some local food and try out a new course that we haven't played yet.
Nice. Now, Theresa, when he introduced you to disc golf, did you think this is goofy? What were your first thoughts when he showed you disc golf?
Um, no, I had all the respect in the world for the sport, but me not being a very athletic person, he was not exaggerating. I was quite terrible, and he was so very patient with me. He must have liked me or something. But I love being outside. I love hiking, just nature. I make jokes now that my favorite courses are the ones with the most critters. I love all that stuff. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to just spend time, getting to know Stephen out doing something that I knew he loved. And while I actually don't have the smallest competitive bone in my body, I still love just getting out to play. It's very fun. And even well, gosh, I think I've been playing now for 14 years, 15 years ago that we met and started. It's incredible to see the improvements that I've made. I thank you for the compliment, Stephen. But yeah, thinking back to how it was when I first picked up a disc and what I can do now, it's quite fun. I enjoy it. And we have, like he said, gone so many amazing places in the country that we never would have gone to before if it hadn't been for disc golf, camping trips, multi-day, car trips that we take, that have just been some of the most memorable times in our entire time together. So I'm very grateful for all of that.
So what do you think? What's like your top 2 for each of you, your top 2 spots that you've been to travel for disc golf?
Oh man. Uh that's a little difficult. We've been to so many wonderful places. I really love Lake Tahoe. And it's an absolutely stunning place. And then there are some really wonderful, challenging courses out there too. The courses at Lake Tahoe, and then just around the corner from there, Stampede Reservoir is a really great one to hit up. And then years ago, which I don't believe it's a course anymore, we took a road trip from Oregon to Denver, Colorado in the car with a tent, just threw it in the car and went. And we played Bailey, Colorado, which was, the elevation alone, I think I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe up here. But it was really an absolutely wonderful time. And the property was just stunning.
Yeah, so the Bailey, Colorado is definitely one of the ones that tops my list. My last name is Bailey, though, so as I growing up and knowing that there was this amazing course in Bailey, Colorado, that was always on my list. So we made that a point to go do that. And then the other one that really stands out, other than we lived outside of Roseburg, Oregon. That's where Whistler's Bend, one of the best courses in Oregon, is. So that one always ranks up there. It's one of my favorite courses. But we had one trip where we went up to close to where where Teresa's from, up
Oh.
in the Pacific Northwest. What was what's the place called? Friday Harbor?
San Juan
San
Islands
Juan
in
Islands.
Washington State. We went to Friday
Yeah,
Harbor, the main island.
and they've got an incredible course up there on the
Yeah.
island that had, I think it was like multiple baskets, multiple tee pads, and it was just so much fun. Teresa almost caught her first ace there too. She hit the basket. Like that was just such a memorable trip for us. And yeah, I mean, every time we go out and do these types of trips, we always come back with great memories. So it's probably one of our favorite things about disc golf.
That's awesome. I love it. I love hearing about the different disc golf adventures that people go on. And it does kind of open your eyes to, or at least for me, when I go travel, about the beauty of the place that you're in. You know, each place has its own individual beauty to it, whether that's the beautiful trees or just the beautiful landscape or just the town that the disc golf course is in is a nice town to visit. I love being able to explore this great nation we live in through disc golf. So I think that's awesome. So let's talk about whale sacks. So
Yes.
how did all that come about as far as is it something that you wanted to be in as far as a disc golf quote unquote business or and when you were seeking that out or how did it all come about?
Yeah, in all honesty, outright no. We had known for years that we wanted to have a business. We were both working like in management, in retail management, just kind of not really feeling like we were settled into like a career, so to speak. And um, we knew that we really wanted to work for ourselves. We knew we had the discipline for it. We had the skill sets. We said we really want to work for ourselves, but um, nothing really stuck, as far as, starting a business, what would we do? We just hadn't really like landed on anything yet. And we had just made our relocation from the Pacific Northwest to Orlando. And we were settling in here, enjoying the weather, enjoying everything that Central Florida has to offer. And Tina's little offer came up on social media that she was essentially looking for a buyer. And so we think that it was somehow in a way just kind of meant to be that it she chose us to carry on that legacy. And so we thought with Steven's never-ending passion for disc golf, and my skill sets, like I've been sewing my own clothes for years. I really love the creative aspect of being able to make whales for a living now. I thought we can do this. We can absolutely do this. So it was just really, I think, fate that it aligned that way for us. And we're really, really excited to kind of see where this goes. We haven't quite had the business for a whole year yet, so we know that like there's so much more to come.
Yeah. So take me back though to the initial like meetings and what once you're like, hey, this is something we want to explore. What was it just kind of a meeting on the phone on a Zoom or no? I guess you guys are there, so we were able maybe to go see her. Like how did that go?
So yeah, so that was actually kind of a really fun month for us. And I say month because after she made the first post, she was essentially interviewing people. So she would set up like a Google Meet, FaceTime type scenario, and we would meet up with her. And it felt very much so like the first time, it felt like an interview. But after we got done with that, like I don't know if you've ever had one of those job interviews where you get done and you're like, you don't want to feel confident, like I got the job, but like that's how I felt. I felt like an instant connection with Tina, like, and it was such just good energy, good vibes. And I looked at Theresa after that first meeting and I said, Tina wants to sell whale sacks to us. That's what I said to her. And she had a few serious contenders in the mix.
Absolutely.
So after that, every week we essentially had like another meeting where, we would spend a week writing down questions, looking up, whatever we needed to look up. We're very detailed oriented. We like to make sure that we put in a bunch of research and we don't just jump into things. Like
We don't even buy toothbrushes without like doing like thorough
I
research.
spend a ridiculous amount of time researching something before I buy it because I don't want to have buyer's remorse. And so when you're talking about buying a business of this caliber, we spent a month meeting with her like once a week, and every time it felt like we were just hanging out with a homie, like it was good times, good vibes. it really felt like it was just the perfect connection between all of us, and we came up with an offer. She said, "Give me a couple days to think about it." She accepted the offer, so then we made our trip up to Pensacola, got to play some disc golf with Tina, signed the paperwork, and the rest is history.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I could see Tina wanting to interview people because I know that she took a lot of pride in creating that business. I know that when I worked with her and when she was with Dynamite Discs, and oftentimes we would talk, even on this podcast, we would talk on it, and she would always talk about being very proud of, being the entrepreneur she was and going from an idea, fulfilling the need that people had for, dry to have their hands dry and creating a company that actually employed people and gave people, purpose. And a lot of the players would work part time for her so they could have some, touring money. And so I know, yeah, I could see Tina being like that, and I think that's great. Let me ask you this, and obviously, I don't want to know any specifics, but just to some of our listeners, I think they are people that think, I'd love to start a disc golf business. I'd love to get into because I love disc golf. I love doing this. And then they're thinking like you, where they want to work for themselves. What were some of the questions that you asked that help you realize whether you wanted to do this or not?
Goodness. Yeah. I think a lot of it was more about the actual ins and outs of the day-to-day things, like how the logistics of how
Yeah.
how things were to happen. Because obviously she had the website, we're selling whales to people, but a huge portion of the business is actually business to business. So we were talking a lot about, what that looked like from, the connections with other stores and companies, as well as things overseas. There are stores in Europe that carry whale sacks, and what do the logistics of that kind of look like, as well as questions about the team. You mentioned
Hmm.
the pros. We do produce whale sacks for them. We kick back proceeds from those to them to kind of help everybody involved. So we really just wanted to know, you know what are these things looking like? How does this work? So that way we can make sure that we carry that on. So I think that was a huge portion of why Tina chose us, is she really
Yeah.
wanted someone to carry on that legacy of whale sacks in a similar fashion to what she had, grown the business into.
And I remember asking a lot of questions about, like, if this happens, how do you handle this? I remember also asking, like, in your honest opinion, and that's one of the things that I was so grateful for, is that it felt like all of the conversations we had were very genuine. There was honesty. She wasn't holding details back from us, but like, in your honest opinion, why is whale sacs not at where it was a couple of years ago? Obviously the COVID boom, everybody talks about it. We know that was a thing, but what's the real reason behind sales, dipping the way they did? Not that it was a crazy insane dip, but there was a little bit of a dip on that. But
Trending downward.
yeah, absolutely. And so just making sure that you ask the right questions to make sure that you are getting all of the information before making a huge decision like that, because you don't want to end up with a business that's absolutely failing. You want to make sure that, hey, if this business isn't doing what it should be doing, what are the whys behind that? Because if you can identify those whys, that's something that you can work on. Like, she said that she didn't want to call stores to talk to, not that she didn't want to, it's just her passions fell to other places. And I totally get that. After being in a business for 10 years, if you kind of got to a point where you're just your heart's not in it anymore, it's hard to build up that, like, oh well, today I'm going to call all these places and talk to these people. And it's hard to build that up if you're just not feeling the same love and passion that you had for it 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. So you talk about the trending down, and yeah, I believe everybody in the disc golf industry is feeling that down trend. Did that scare you at all as far as getting into a disc golf business?
Oh, Steven's nodding yes. I'm going to say not at all.
Yeah.
Mostly, I think my mentality on it was like, if we can make things happen when it's at this point,
Mm.
and we know that things can get better, like, as that if it gets better from here, then this is great.
Yeah.
So, I'd rather come in at this point of things in the, economics and the industry overall, not just for whale sacks. I'd rather come in right now knowing that it's possible, and knowing that things will improve, things can get better. So like we can make those efforts. Like economics will change. Like we can count on things to eventually trend upward. So no, I was absolutely, I think maybe overly confident, but I'll take it either way.
And I think for me, my bigger like concern apprehension came more from just the general state of the economy and where it's at right now. Just
Mhm.
seeing that like people are hurting, I mean, it's
Mhm.
not just the disc golf community that you can feel it. Like it's every economy out there, unless you own gas stations, maybe you're not hurting right now.
That's true.
But that was my biggest concern, was that we're acquiring a business where people aren't and the other part to this is that we sell a product that lasts for some people well over a year. I mean, it's a good product. Like most of the time when somebody comes up and needs a new whale sack, it's two reasons: one, they lost it, or
Right.
two, they can't live without this new pattern that they see.
Mhm.
So those were definitely the apprehensions that I had going into it, was that, I don't want to buy a company that is going to be just all of a sudden completely no chance of surviving because of the economy that we're in. But I also knew too that like this is a product that the price has never, at least Tina said, the price has never changed. It's at a fair price. We still keep them at $11 on the website. And I think that that's very fair for an item that could easily last you a year and keep your hands dry, actually work for, and more than just disc golf too. We were talking to so many people at the Big Easy that one guy, had a PGA hat on. He was like, yeah, when I'm not disc golfing, I use this for regular golf. Even though I have a glove on one hand, my other hand gets super sweaty. And so I always have a whale sack with me on my golf bag as well. And so it's really cool to hear all the different people that are using it for the different reasons, like rock climbing, weightlifting, all of that.
That's awesome. Okay, so now you've acquired whale sacks. Take us back to that moment where it's yours, right? You just signed paper. I'm sure there was paperwork you had to sign, all the legal stuff and everything. So take us to like the first week. What was your strategy? What was your plan of attack?
I think Stephen and I had very different experiences from this too, so I'll let him go first.
Okay.
Well, my experience was actually quite a bit different up until about a month ago or
Yeah.
so. I was working a full-time job the whole time. I just recently stepped away from that so we could go full focus on whale sacks. So now I kind of feel like I'm finally at that moment where it all feels so real. The
Mm.
gas pedal's down. I have all these plans for all these new videos that I want to shoot. When you talked about bringing the humor back into disc golf, like that's my life. I try to make people laugh and entertain as much as possible. So I have a lot of ideas up here. I just need to actually get the time to do them. And I know that that's coming. But it was a bit of a whirlwind, because I would go to work and I'd be at work, and like throughout my shift, we use Shopify, and every time a sale comes through, you hear like a cash register
Uh-huh.
noise or whatever. And so I'd be at work and I'd be like, ooh, what was that? Ooh, what, and it was like it's so unreal, and
Mhm.
to actually, one of the moments too that really sunk in recently was going to the Supreme Flight Open. That was our first pro tour event that we ever vended at. And it was, even at this level, even though I've now played around with Eric, I've got to meet, Calvin, I've got to meet all these people. Even when I go to these events, I still cannot help but fangirl out when I see people like Big Germ walk by.
Yeah.
Like it just,
Yeah.
you see it. It's just so, because I spent so many years watching the content, and it's for the first week it felt super unreal, and then there was a part of it that felt a little overwhelming, I would
Mm.
say. And not because we had like an extreme amount of work to do, but it definitely, we're perfectionists. Teresa's probably even more perfectionist than I am.
Beautiful.
But there was a lot that we wanted to do right away, and I feel like the first couple of months really was more about kind of restructuring things on the back end and cleaning up like the website, and just kind of like figuring out what the flow of everything looked like to make sure that the business is still operating the way it's supposed to, and not changing too many things too quickly, because it's a successful business. You don't want to completely change everything, but we also wanted people to know that, hey, it's not Tina's company anymore. There's a new owner and it's the same great product. We just have somebody new attached to it. So That was my first couple of weeks. So the first one was just I couldn't believe it, unreal. I can't believe this is happening. Second week was like, oh my god, how am I going to do all of this while I'm also still working? And then like followed by still just fangirling out when I see Simon and Eagle and Germ and all these people. Like, just still blows my mind that I get to have conversations with these people on a day-to-day basis now. It's awesome.
That's awesome. What about you, Teresa? Yours was a little different.
I think it took a lot longer for it to really sink in for me, and I'm not sure where that came from necessarily, because we did, like you mentioned, we went up to Pensacola, we signed papers, we had a little thing like it. So there was definitely an official moment. We
Hmm.
drove home as the owners of Whale Sacs, but I don't know that it really sunk in for me until a couple months later, probably when I was like filing taxes. Doing those, important things that you have to take care of as a business owner, that I thought, holy cow, like we have a business, like it's ours. We had the wonderful opportunity in the past. Like I mentioned, Stephen and I had worked in like retail management and things back in Oregon. We actually worked together, which was wonderful. Another reason that we knew that, having a business together would be a good idea, that we work well together. But this time was different. We were in charge of everything, but it was actually ours.
Yeah.
And when you're filing taxes and paying employees, cutting payroll and things like that, it feels really real. But I definitely shared with Stephen those slightly overwhelming feelings of like we had a list a mile long of things that we say, okay, now we want to put all this into action. Where do we start? What do we do? What's important? And I couldn't agree with him more, that we had a lot we wanted to change and do, but not because we thought things were necessarily wrong, mostly because we wanted to make it ours.
Right.
We want Whale Sacs to be a reflection of us now. And so I feel like right about now, maybe the beginning of the year, I said, we really feel like we're settling into a lot of that. So still so many things, to do, so many great ideas to come to fruition. But it took at least a couple months before I really thought, whoa, we have this business. Like it's real. It's really
Yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah. Like you said, and I remember working in retail and management. Yes, you make a lot of decisions, but even if you messed up, it wasn't totally. It was on you, but it wasn't on you because you had people above you. But now it is on you, right? Any decision you
Yes.
make, good or bad, is on you. So, yeah, I can understand the extra weight of that for sure. So what are some of the changes that you mentioned now? Or maybe there aren't any big changes, maybe just a few logistical changes or anything like that. But what are some of the vision and goal that you have for Whale Sacks?
Yeah, we essentially did an overhaul of the website. Stephen did a lot of great work on the back end for us there, just to give it a whole new look, change a little bit of the way that people navigate and shop for things, put a bunch of different apparel designs out, just more offerings, some swag items, just made it feel a little bit more like a retail shop to us, which was a nice refreshing of that, I think. Um, for me, very personally, now that I am making whales, so every whale that comes out of here is made by my two little hands.
Wow.
Um, Stephen mentioned that, I suffer from perfectionism, and I say suffer because it is sometimes to a fault. It's not that I think I am perfect. It's quite the opposite. Nothing ever quite turns out as good as I think it should be, or as good as I want it to be. So it was definitely my goal to start turning out whales that were more consistent, I think. And I know that when at the height of whale sacs, in the pandemic, Tina had a lot of people making whale sacs for her, which was necessary at the time. But with that comes inconsistencies with a handmade product like whale sacs. So now that I'm able to control a lot of that, I was really happy to kind of fine tune some of the, tighter stitching with whale sacs, more consistently plump filled whales that I think people will start to see across the board, as we work through, older inventory and everything turns over into, new stuff that's available. I just want people to be really happy with, buying a whale sac today and buying a whale sack a year from now and thinking it's the same. It's exactly how they knew it was. There's not like, oh, that last one, this one feels a little flat, or
Yeah.
oh, the seam popped. Like little things that just make sure that that experience is 100% for everyone. Um,
And I would say, like, for noticeable changes, to go to the question, the logo, we did a little bit of a refresher on that. We added a little bit of color to it, and we kind of I at one point I asked Teresa, I was like, "Are those saw blades on the whale?" Like, it was waves, but like to me, I was like, they look like saw blades. So
Yeah.
we kind of I had her smooth those out. We added the color to it, so it was a very subtle change, but it was also just one of those things to kind of like a rebranding almost.
Right.
And then on the website, I've been doing a lot of fun stuff with that. Like there was a page called Authorized Sellers, or Authorized
Mm-hmm.
Dealers, people who are selling whale sacks, and it was literally just well, there was little boxes, and each box was a different state, and it would have just the names of the stores where they were sold. You couldn't click on anything like that. So I have now built a section in there where there's a drop down. You can click on your state, it goes down to it. It shows the store. You can click on it, takes it to their store. There's a map on there. So just a lot of little minor adjustments to kind of clean it up and give it a little bit more of that finished professional look that we were after for the website.
better user experience, I
Yeah,
think, overall.
absolutely. And spending a lot of time testing things too, because you'll make a change to the website, and 2 months later, all of a sudden, that's when you find somebody says, "Oh, by the way, I found this item on your website." You're like, you weren't supposed to find that." And so,
Where did you find that?
yeah. How did you buy that? Now I got to refund. Yeah. So, just really noticeable changes, not anything too big other than like the logo and the website. I'd say those are probably the two big changes that we made.
One thing that I was really excited to do as well, and just kind of taking a little bit of our experience with retail and how a lot of other stores do operate, was to take all further, like future whale drops and turn them into collections. Because when I search for fabrics, like I thought we could just, buy fabric willy-nilly, make new patterns and put them out. But I thought, how much more exciting would it be? Like, I'm excited at the thought of it, to group these into like collections and things. So this year, the whale sacks, like as we refresh inventory on the website and new stuff comes available, they're going to be dropped as themed collections. So
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for the coming collections that we have to drop later this year.
I like that. So,
That might be one. Sorry, that might be one more noticeable change too. Was that there was a lot of like floral and girly patterns when we acquired it. Because we acquired a lot of inventory with it too, discs and
Right.
whales. And we just noticed that there was a bit of a pattern. It was a lot of floral designs. So we wanted to offer some things that gravitated a little bit more to everybody. I mean, we did the research, and the general consumer and disc golfers is like a average, middle-aged male.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of middle-aged males don't want roses all over their sack. They
Right.
You don't have roses on your
no,
sack?
they want donuts and hot dogs and things like
Exactly.
that. Torchy's tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what I did, I made a big mistake as a podcast guy, and and what made me think about this is I didn't even ask you what is a whale sack. I think what I did was I made the assumption that obviously you guys know what it is. I know what it is, but maybe some of our listeners may not quite understand. And it's funny that I bring that up because I do remember way, way, way back in the day that Tina was on a podcast or somewhere, and no. Paige Pierce was talking about whale sacks, and then she was talking about Tina. And I remember thinking, a whale what? What are we talking about? And so it made me want to figure out what a whale sack is. And of course, I figured out what it was. So I may actually edit this and put this at the beginning and then kind of go from there. But tell me, what is a whale sack and what makes it different than other grip enhancers.
You want to take it? Go ahead.
Sure. So Stephen hates the terminology dry bag, but it's essentially a tool like for grip enhancement, specifically within like athletic fields. However, it's applicable anywhere that your hands are sweaty or, grip is essential, like enhanced grip. So a whale sac is properly named because it is shaped somewhat like a whale, and it is filled with clay pellets. So unlike a lot of grip enhancements that you'll see in the disc golf field and other fields, there is no chalk involved. So the clay pellets are a little less messy. They will break down slowly over time and kind of release that clay powder onto your hands to give you that grip enhancement. So when you're throwing your discs, you don't, accidentally shank it into the people behind you. If you do, then that might just be user error. We'll talk about that later. But the whale tail was specifically used because Tina had a very eco-conscious approach to making the whale sacs. They're all 100% cotton. Everything is natural, so if you do lose your whale in the wild, he will just eventually return to the earth if he doesn't find a new owner. But the whale tail can be used to tie it either to your belt loop or your bag, so that way he's readily available for you.
Yeah.
Looks like it's censoring it, like you're showing
I
something
know, yeah,
inappropriate.
No sacs allowed.
Yeah. Sorry, wrong sack.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought when I first heard the name whale sacs. I was like, what are we talking here, son?
Well, and besides some of those unique features, I think what really makes whale sacs stand out in the disc golf community or as like a grip enhancement are the super fun patterns that we come up with, like the fabric choices that we choose and the wide variety that are always available. One of my favorite things to do is just sit down on the computer and browse for fun fabrics, try to find out, what's cool, what catches my eye, what do I think is fun, or even we have a survey that we send out to people who buy from us on the website or in person, and asks them, what do you want to see on a whale sac? Like, tell us what kind of patterns you're interested in. Like the hot dogs. The hot dogs was one that somebody was like, when are the hot dogs coming back? I was like, I'm on it. I got you.
And that's
awesome.
Also one of the fun things too, is that you can, so like the one that we were showing here, this one was a special design one for Ace Run Pro. So sorry, the blur keeps happening, but yeah. So we can also do custom orders, which we run a lot of those for tournaments. We just did one for the Pro Tour. It was a Jomez Pro Tour collab. So those should be available soon. I don't think we'll be selling those, but I think the DGPT will have those available.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the what we can do with them is so fun. I mean we've had some crazy requests before, but yeah, it's the custom patterns are a lot of fun to do, and I think a lot of people don't actually know that you can do that. So if your club, if you have a disc golf club and they've got a logo, they look great on a whale sac. If you have maybe you have a wedding coming up and you want to get all your groomsmen a whale sac with your guys' initials on it, and then the wedding date, there's just so many things that can be done with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of showing them the different collab ones where you can, and I remember that was kind of the cool thing is you could put any logo, and I know we've done that here at Dynamic Discs for some of our events, and I know I've seen Disc Golf Pro Tour have one, so yes, I agree. That's what makes it really fun because we loved it because it was something unique to give. I mean, everybody usually had a grip enhancer, but they didn't have something with the tournament logo on it or, our logo on it or something like that. So it makes it kind of a unique thing to add to player packs and to offer in stores. And I know that stores do that as well. They'll put their logo on there. That way, when you buy from your favorite disc golf store, you can kind of represent your favorite disc golf store in your whale sac. So I always thought that was really cool. So, okay, so we got that out of the way. Thank you so much. And thank you for forgiving me for not doing that.
No problem.
So let's go back to kind of your mission and vision. So what do you have on your mind as far as going forward? What do you want? I know you said you're going to do some more marketing, and that's kind of how the connection kind of started. Was I was watching what was it, the Spring Flight Open, where you had a funny commercial that was a little bit on the edge, a little bit. Maybe you can describe the commercial. That way people understand what it was. So describe that commercial you had for the Pro Tour.
Sure. So we came up with a funny idea of two old timers sitting on a porch reminiscing about the good old days. You know, they talking about, I remember when you can get a gallon of gas for 60 cents, and remember you could see a movie for a nickel.
Uh,
Just talking about all those. And then I say and it's us. We're the old people. If you go watch the video, it's on our YouTube channel. But yeah, and then I say, remember when you can get a whale sack for $11? And then it's me as just my disc golf bag and my normal like young Steven outfit. And I walk up and I say, hey guys, whale sacks are still $11 at whalesacks.com. And then it cuts back to the old guy and he puts his newspaper down. He's like, well, son of a, and then it like cuts to the end scene and it has a beep. Yeah, so that was it was just a fun idea, and as soon as we put it together, it worked out exactly how we had envisioned it. And that was just kind of like, okay, that's the angle that we're going to be doing on our commercials. We, as much as I had another idea where I wanted to do like Nike style commercial where it's a bunch of action shots and super cinematic and all that. And I'm kind of still toying around with doing that, but we lean more towards the funny. I feel like somebody's going to remember a laugh like that more than they're going to remember that cool shot with the close up of somebody gripping a tennis racket. Like
yeah.
I think that this commercial too really was a wonderful introduction to kind of a bit about who we are. It said a lot about our personalities,
Yeah.
and just, what we what you can expect from us just as people. And I think that was a great way to kick it off. And like Steven said, that was the right way to go because we are full send down that road now. Everything, which we're going to have a couple more commercials like rotating out on the coverage this year. So
Nice.
stay tuned for some more laughs.
Oh, yes.
We got
I
some
like
fun
it.
things planned.
And
Yeah.
so for the direction, we have a few different things that we're working on. One is that I've been going back and listening to a bunch of Disc Golf Answer Man podcasts, and I don't know why I didn't get back into it when it came back on, but now that I'm listening to it, I'm like, I fell right back in love. Like
We're old time
I
fans.
legitimately, I had a
Oh,
Disc Golf
thank
Answer
you.
Man shirt. Like that's
Oh,
how much I
that's
was into
awesome.
it.
I
Oh
love
yeah,
it.
yeah, I was hardcore fan. But as I was listening to them, I was listening to you were talking to the guy that works with Marquez Brown, I think, or
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
yeah,
Andrew, yep.
that was amazing. That was such a good one. I listened to the six-sided disc one. That was so good. But I had that realization where like I like creating content. I like creating videos. So the direction that I would really like to send my focus on is the YouTube channel. I really want to grow that. It's kind of got a small following. Our Instagram's pretty good, but the YouTube, I was like, man, we need to boost that up. So I did kind of mess around with the idea of doing a vlog, and then I went back and watched all my footage, and I was like, man, I was so awkward on camera that whole time. I was like, I'm not using this. Like, you got to get to that point where you're you, because when you're you, people are going to enjoy that. If you're just going, hey guys, so today I was at the Supreme Flight Open and it was so rainy, you wouldn't believe it, and then show a picture of the rain, like. People don't want to watch that. They want to see you slip and fall and get up all soaking wet in the rain and be real about it. So I need to work on that, but more than anything, I want to figure out how to really get like funny videos out there for disc. I have a lot of ideas on like one disc rounds or roller only rounds, just unique things that you don't really see too much on YouTube, because I mean that's the other thing, is that there's so much content right now. How do you stand out between the other 100 channels that are all trying to do the same thing?
And create stuff that is entertaining for
Yeah, yeah,
people.
because I at the end of the day, I want to entertain people. I don't want them to watch it just because, oh, Whale Sex dropped another video and I'm loyal. Like, no, I want you to watch it because you're getting something out of it. You enjoy it.
Mm.
So that's kind of a big focus, is trying to really get our feel on the socials and the YouTube and all that. But then the bigger one that we really have a goal on is kind of hitting the road. And I'll let Theresa, since I
Yeah.
talked on that one, you can talk on hitting the road.
You're not wrong though. So social media is such a huge part of everyone's lives these days, and we do want to have content out there that is genuine. Like we want people to know us in the same way that we want to know them. And hitting the road, we talked about how much we love to travel just in general, and how much disc golf has already taken us to some really great places. We think it would be a really fun thing to be able to travel with the Pro Tour, travel go to these stores, that carry our products, and be a face, like say hi, run a tournament with them, just be involved. Like, I don't want to say like boots on the ground, but like be there, be in it, like live it. Um, Very realistically, we didn't ever expect to buy whale sacks to get rich. It's not that's not really our life goal. We'd rather be rich in experiences, and I really want us to be able to kind of live out this chapter, of our lives, to get to be involved with disc golf on a much more intimate level. And I know that that means, showing up in these places, not just, showing up on screen, showing up on Instagram or on YouTube, but like literally like being at these events, helping stores, run events, do the things that as a business we have the capabilities of supporting, those stores and tournaments to help make those things happen for the sport. So and then we get to benefit because we get to go all these awesome places. It's kind of a win-win at that point. There's just a lot of logistical challenges with traveling with a business where you are, making your product. If I was ordering these from somewhere, if I was just, calling up China and being like, hey, send me
Hmm.
100 more whales, it'd be very different. But, ordering fabric, having a sewing machine, a cutting machine, the things on board to, to keep inventory levels where they need to be. Or like Steven said, making customs, like, as frequently as we have custom orders coming in, being at a place where I can have things shipped to me so that
Yeah.
way we can keep these things in production. There are definitely some challenges in figuring out, what that looks like. How do you maintain those types of things all while, living in the moment like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, if you're traveling around, how do you're gonna have to, like, your timing has to be right as far as getting things shipped to you, to
Yeah.
work on, and then I mean, not so much the shipping out, I'm assuming, because you just go to a post office or, UPS store or something like that and ship it out. But yeah, you'd have to. I know, and I bring that up because I know with the players, like when we want to ship discs to our players for promotional purposes, we got to figure out. They're like, well, send it to my buddy because I'll be in, whatever during that week. So yeah, that's very very interesting, and I commend you for trying to be on the road because that is to me that is very important, building those relationships, right? And seeing people and getting that feedback right from people and talking with them. I think that's fantastic. Now, I know you said you haven't been doing it for quite a year, but are there any trends that you're noticing just in disc golf in general as you talk to people, as you're seeing sales happen or not happening, or are there any trends happening that you are noticing?
I'd say one of the biggest ones that I've noticed recently is it feels like so after the COVID boom, we had a pretty big drop off, and now it kind of feels like we're gaining traction again, if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't say we're climbing like it was by any means, but it feels like there's more people out there talking about it. There's more people out there playing. Like when I have conversations with people about like, oh, I'm a business owner. Oh, what do you do? And I tell them about disc golf, they know what disc golf is, as
Mm.
to where like even 5 years ago, I would have conversations with people and you'd be explaining, oh, well, I go out into the woods and I throw plastic at trees and it's normal. I tell you, I promise it's normal. So I feel like the momentum of disc golf feels like the growth is starting to be there. And it feels like the attempt at like the professional level sports, like going to these events and getting to see it in person, I can tell that they're really putting that effort in and trying to get it to grow into something that it should be. I mean, the caliber of it is definitely there. Like it is on the same level as professional sports, I think. And it's just hard to get it there without also getting huge money involved, because there's that weird part where it's like people want it to grow and they want it to be this big thing, but they also don't want corporate to come in and take over. Like, but where do you find that middle ground? Like if you want the growth and you want those things, you also kind of need some of the other part to it too. So yeah, it's a tough
A
one there.
balance.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I could agree with that. I One of the things that I picked up on, uh, when we were at the Big Easy was that there were quite a few people at that event. And I do recognize that this was the first time there has been a pro tour event in that state. So it's not like the tour comes through every year. This was new for them. But there were a lot of people that came to the event that weren't like, they don't play disc golf. They weren't involved in disc golf. They just live there. They knew this event was happening, so they showed up. Like they wanted to come. And I mean, we all know they didn't just walk through the gates. They bought tickets, you know, they like, this was important enough for them. They're like, oh, I'm going to check this out. Like, this
Mhm.
sounds cool enough that I'm going to spend my money to go to this thing that I don't play, that I don't know anything about, but I want to go check this out. There were a lot of people there that did mention that to us. So it was very fun to see that even though there has been this tremendous growth in just the knowledge of what disc golf is to people, that it is still new, and
Mm.
it's still reaching new people and new areas that people don't know about, and it's getting out there, which is fun. I think like that just means that, you know, we haven't peaked. We're not tapped out. You know, there's still huge markets, like demographics that, you know, that we could choose to expand on, you know, like through the sport.
So where do you guys picture yourself in, let's say, 5 years? Where would you want to see whale sacks?
It feels like such a loaded question. Maybe not to everyone, but like just a little more insight into the kind of people that we are. Like we like to say yes to a lot of things. Like we are risk takers, I guess, by that definition. Like we are willing to uproot our lives, like, you know, move across the country to do all these things that, you know, some people wouldn't in a million years feel comfortable, you know, doing. So like we have done a lot just in the past couple years. Like our lives have changed pretty dramatically. So thinking 5 years ahead now that we have whale sacks sounds like we could be on the moon. like, like that's where my brain goes.
Yeah.
So it really is kind of, I don't know that I could fathom where we could possibly be. Do you think?
Yeah, so I know exactly where we're going to be in 5 years. No, I'm joking.
Spell it out for us. Tell us.
Yeah, really.
Tell
Tell
us
me.
all.
Yeah. So, no, I think that, you know, getting a smaller rig to take on the road like that, we're van, maybe a small fifth wheel, you know, something that's more practical to get out on the road. I see us essentially, so we love living in Orlando. Like we moved here for the warmth. We love having Disney World 35 minutes away. You
We
know,
do.
like those are things that we enjoy having. However, we also do miss the West Coast a lot. You know, I grew up in Oregon, and Oregon disc golf is unlike any other disc golf. Well, I guess Washington and Colorado are pretty close too, but you know, the disc golf out there is just so incredible, and there's a lot of people that we love out there. So ideally, I kind of see us, I'm hoping to be snowbirds, kind of. Like, I wanna have a home base set up. Like, ideally, a big goal of ours would be to get some property. We wanna build a disc golf course on it. We'd love to have it to where maybe we even have a campground opened up where we can host events and tournaments, maybe even have vendors out there, you know, like, we have big goals with that. So we wanna have, like, a home base set up, but then we also on with having that, we wanna be able to travel most of the year, and some of it be with the tour, some of it just to come back to Florida for the cold winters, you know, and just kind of live that life where we go where it makes sense for us. But a big goal that we really want, like for 5 years from now, is the tour down under New Zealand. That is something that we have a huge goal to go and do. We like, and I
Wow.
don't even know how that would work. Like, I don't have a trailer in New Zealand. I don't know where I'm going to put whales. I don't know how any of that works, but we
Mhm.
know that we want to go to New Zealand, and we know that they have the tour down under every year, and it's starting to grow every year. So that's a big goal, is we'd love to be on the road more, and that includes out of the country maybe once or twice a year too.
Wow, that's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen and Teresa, thank you so much for taking the time to help us learn a little bit more about what's going on with the well sacks. I appreciate it, and I love the conversation. I'd love to be able to check in with you guys maybe in a year or something like that. See where you're at. Have you back on the show. I tell everybody that I want to check back and see how the business is going. But before we go, this is something that I have been doing on the interviews: is do you have a question for me? I will try to. Well, I keep cowering a little bit. My first one, I was like, I will answer anything. I will whatever you want to hear. And
Hey,
now I'm like, I will try to answer, but no, I will answer whatever question you have.
I give you mad props. I don't remember which one I was listening to, but somebody had asked you a question, and you were like, "No, let me clarify this just to make sure I'm on the same page." You weren't afraid. You were like, "I'll
Yeah.
talk about it, like
Yeah.
no holds bar." So I
Yeah.
give you mad props on that.
Okay.
Yes, I actually, because I was waiting for this moment, so I wrote a couple questions down here.
Oh, he's got a list.
Nothing too crazy. I had 2 questions that I wrote down.
Go for it.
Okay, so in coming back to dynamic, what has been the most challenging thing for you? Because I mean, we'll be honest. I mean, I think everybody can agree that you came back with a pretty full plate there. Like you had a lot that you had to do. Like the socials needed a lot of work, and you did an amazing job on that. But what's the hardest thing about coming back to dynamic?
Like initially, or looking at it now that I've been back
Oh,
about 7
man,
months. Which
maybe that's a
one?
2-part question. I mean,
I
Yeah.
think now.
let's go now,
Yeah.
because I mean,
Right now?
now that you're back in, it's been a little while. You've got the socials kind of in a better place. Like, what's challenging now?
So the most challenging thing right now that's on my mind is YouTube. And that kind of tells a story of everything that's going on, and in the sense that I can't remember if Andrew and I talked about it on the show or after the show, but in a sense, when I told the story of when I left, the culture changed, not just the culture on YouTube, but the culture in other places. And people tell me that. I'm not trying to be braggadocious or whatever. Braggadocious. I can't believe I said that.
Hey, that
I
was
don't
great.
mean to be bragging, but like people said they felt the culture changed. And that is what happened on social media. So that happened on YouTube. Now, that's not to say that Anthony and Danny did not do a great job on YouTube, but they were given different orders. And soon after I left came Ricky and Kona, right? And so then our YouTube channel and our social media presence became about them a lot, right? The top pros, they invested a lot of money in them. And so they became a center focus of a lot of the social media. And so then, in a sense, we killed off the personality that I had. We introduced somebody new, and then they left, and we killed that personality. And then it was nothing for about 9 months. I mean, there wasn't really a lot. And then again, that's not to say anything bad about the people that were still here. They tried to put out stuff on social media, but it just wasn't their job. They were just kind of doing it so that it wouldn't die completely. But then now I'm back. So now it's almost like we killed our YouTube channel and our social media twice. And now the algorithm's probably saying, who even are you? Who is your audience? What are you going to create? And it's taking a lot longer than I anticipated. I was so ready to, and I'll just be upfront with everybody. I was so ready on our YouTube channel to, by this time, be at 100,000 subscribers. We are losing subscribers fast,
Oh,
but we're
no.
gaining. We are still gaining. That's the weird thing, is that when I look at the analytics, it still shows that we are growing. We're just losing faster than we're growing. And I get that, because when I left, I think we were at, I want to say, close to 60 or 70,000 subscribers. So when I came back, we were at 96,000. So in that time, it grew 30,000 subscribers. But a lot of those subscribers either have no idea who I'm at, or they don't care about this fat old guy throwing discs, right? And so, so they're like, I'm out. So I get it though, because we're gaining new people that like and enjoy our style of doing things. So I would say that has been the biggest challenge. The one that kind of keeps me up at night every now and then is like, man, how do we get? And when we would put out a video, if we didn't get 10,000 views in the first, I think we had got it to where if we didn't get 10,000 views in the first 12 hours, we're like, where did we go wrong? What did we do wrong with this video? Now it's like, I hope I get 1,000 views on a video.
Oh, man.
But and I've talked to all kinds of different people. Some people say we should start out new YouTube channel and just start over from the beginning. I've consulted some other people, and they say, no, don't start over. You just got to put in the work again, but you've got at least a good foundation, but you just got to work at it again. It's also battling the new social media, where it's not really, a lot of people are not calling it social media anymore. They're calling it interest media. In other words, your subscriber base, your followers, the numbers don't count nearly as much as it used to, because the algorithm is so smart. It will find someone to show your video to. So And even I think recently, and I know I can go off a tangent, but I can talk social media all the time. But the guy, the Missouri or whatever his name, who's in charge of Instagram, literally says when you put a video out, they sprinkle it to some of your followers, but then they show strangers, people who have no idea who you are. And if it doesn't do good for the strangers, then they'll go, okay, well, then maybe your followers will like it. And then they'll try that audience. So they don't even, it's not even showing it just to your followers. It's showing it to other people out there. And so you're like battling, not just satisfying your followers, you're battling satisfying the Joe Schmo that may happen to come across a video and either will take interest or not take interest in it. So I think
Wow.
that's been my biggest challenge so far.
Yes, it's a tough game. Like, you're right. We could talk about that for hours alone,
Yeah.
but I hear you. I hear you.
Major props though. Like I said, you had your hands full when you came back, and I think that you've done a phenomenal job. I still have plenty of DD plastic in my bag,
Oh, thank you.
and you guys, the one of the big when the chance to come onto this podcast happened, there was no way I was missing that. Like
Thank you.
man,
That's
when I
awesome.
talk about like the golden days of disc golf, it was like that was it. It was back when you guys all were in the studio together. Jomez and CCDG were still very kind of like new and
Yeah.
building there, but like,
Independence,
and it was,
yeah.
oh, those were the good days. So anybody that got into disc golf after the COVID boom, like you really missed out on those. Like go
Yeah.
back and watch some old content. You'll love it.
I told
Yeah.
Steven, I said, I got us on Disc Golf Answer Man podcast. He's like, what?
I think my jaw like hit the floor for an hour. Like,
That's awesome.
I was so
That's
excited
awesome.
for
Well,
that.
thank you guys.
And also, like, real quick shout out too, like if anybody that's getting started, if you're looking for good content, there is still an amazing plethora of content on the Dynamic Discs channel from back in the day. Like that was when we first found out about the pro scene and we were trying to get better, and get 100 feet more on our distance. Those were the videos that we really leaned on, and listening to the podcast, because you guys did a great job of letting people ask questions like, hey, my noodle arm is doing this, I can't brace, whatever question they had, they would ask it, and you guys would have an answer, and it made sense to people who don't throw 500 feet, so yeah, anybody that doesn't know this, go and check out the older material too, because there's some lot of valuable good stuff in there.
Yes, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it is interesting when I look at the analytics that as we started pumping more videos out, they are discovering the old stuff. Like people are actually commenting on stuff from 5-6 years ago. That's more that green stuff. That's more of a tutorial where it doesn't matter, when it was put out, it's still applicable to people learning disc golf. So that's good stuff. So
Totally.
all right, well, I
love
guess we
that.
need to hurry up and get off so that we can go to the
Yes. I
didn't
think you have
realize-
another waiter. Yeah.
I know another guest, but that's fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. I can totally, after talking with you guys, I can totally see why Tina could not wait to give you guys Whale Sacs, because you guys are amazing. I love your energy. I love your vibe. And of course, I wish anybody in the disc golf industry, but I definitely wish you guys the best of luck. And if there's anything ever I can do to help out, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. We're already connected on Instagram. So anytime you guys need help, or if you have an idea, this is what I tell people. Give me a chance to say no. I want to be able to say, in other words, I want to go, that is a fantastic idea, but I just can't do it. But I want the chance to say no. So reach out with any ideas you guys have. So, but again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
We
you so much.
appreciate it so much. We really do. Thank you.
Thank you.